Hey, Charlie, what's happening in the markets this week?
Hey, Nisa. Well, it's been actually a little bit more chilled out and boring than usual, which I guess in itself is somewhat noteworthy. Um, in terms of themes for this week, I guess, yeah, like one of the big stories is the lack of a story in the sense that volatility has come way down, and the market doesn't appear to be over levered. And we're kind of in the middle of the technical ranges, and it's more about kind of the bigger picture stories that are unfolding to see what people's conviction for the next step is going to look like. This first chart here just shows that basically volatility of Bitcoin is back to the kind of the bottom end of the sort of the baseline. So it's like fully business as usual in the market and without really anything out of the ordinary happening. This contrasts, greatly with the astronomical spike in short-term volatility in March, which you can see in the hump in the chart. And then, interestingly, we had a bit of an uptick through late April, early May, and markets just come right back down again as it's just sort of not doing too much. If we go on to the next bit, the discussion with of Paul Tudor Jones about Bitcoin in the media has sort of got everybody excited about money printing and Bitcoin as a hard asset hedge, but it's really actually underperformed gold for most of the year. You can see in this chart that gold is in an uptrend and Bitcoin is just sort of, albeit kind of all over the place earlier this year, it just hasn't really managed to put together a full uptrend post-halving. And recently with gold coming down, Bitcoin has come down as well, signifying maybe a decline in popularity in that kind of hard asset narrative. You can see that really clearly on this next chart here, where you've got the open interest of Bitcoin futures on the CME against the Bitcoin price. And what you can see is we have this sort of astronomical build in open interest on the CME, sort of indicating that crossover buyers from traditional hedge fund world were potentially buying Bitcoin against crypto arbitrageurs with CME capabilities selling into it. And what's happened is that open interest is starting to tick down again, and that appears to be leading the price action in Bitcoin itself, as sort of like we're going back to standard crypto market participants, basically like buying the asset back from the macro guys. Now, there's still a lot of ways to go. I'd say we're still in a longer term uptrend in this institutional, this proxy for crossover hedge fund buying. If it were to revert out, it would have to, delever a fair amount more, and would probably have a pretty negative impact on the Bitcoin price.
Do you think that the recent announcements, Libra 2.0 or the DCEP in China, or some of the tensions between the US and China have affected the price?
I think it's a great question, and the short answer is right now no, but I think it's one of the potential major catalysts looking forward. So right now, I still think it's about money printing and kind of the demand for hard assets in the face of currency debasement, and the kind of like broader discussions about either the sort of like geopolitical importance of a DCEP or re-envisaging, I guess, the way that we process payments and interact, commercially on the internet via Libra. I think those are still like, and whether or not that's an, on-ramp to Bitcoin in the crypto ecosystem, I think it's still kind of not really the flavor du jour, unlike last summer. I think right now it's much more about how much more money is the Fed going to print, how bad can the economy get while the stock market, it threatens to take out new highs, and it's all about that money printing narrative. But I think Bitcoin, because of its failure to break 10K, has maybe gotten a little bit, boring as an implementation of that idea. The big levels to watch on the Fibonacci on the 1 year are 10,000-ish and 7,700-ish. And then other than that, there's basically no real breakdown. I would just point out one last thing in the market, which I do think is quite interesting, which is that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin recently. So it's suggesting that like the Bitcoin-led rally, which would kind of indicate new dollars coming into the space from crossover buyers, is kind of backing off, and now people are kind of monetizing profits in Bitcoin and buying the alts that they really believe in. And ETH seems to be one of those beneficiaries. So I think you're seeing some within the crypto community, some asset rotation out of Bitcoin and into other projects. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charlie.